Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. For any of my viewers that are following along, I am working on a John Deere 3010. I currently have it split. I got all sorts of new parts for it. And I got new synchro discs and plates. I got drums. I got all sorts of fun things, and there's parts everywhere for it. So I'm gonna try to record a bunch of this, not talk a lot, so I can high speed it and you don't hear blah, 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 blah in the background. So kind of go and see if I can't set it up somewhere, maybe up on the crane, see if I can set it up on that. And try to get this top shaft built. Maybe show some of the things that I got to do on it. I know I'm going to need the press and kind of get everything put back onto the shaft. I got most of my parts here cleaned up, all ready to go. I got some new parts that came in, so I'll do that. Once I get that assembled, then I'll step over here and take to cleaning all of this stuff up and wash it on out. I'm also going to go back and replace the rear PTO seal on that. I'll do a clip on that. So maybe I'll break these down individually kind of thing. I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it all together, so we'll see here. I might break them all down into small clips on this is how you do the rear seal and this is how you do the front seal. Or just leave it all in here. We'll see when I get to the computer and what my ambition is sitting at. So, but I will, I'm gonna get my coveralls on and see if I can't start assembling this thing. Haying season is here in Montana, so this customer is needing this. We finally kind of got all the parts in that we were needing, so I still have to take it apart at the clutch though. So I still, when I get that part done, when I get this glued back together, I gotta split it here because there's something wrong in the PTO clutch in the front, and he just had that done about 50 hours ago. So we'll have to tear into that, and I've never been on that side, so I'll have to look at everything that's all entailed on doing that. I'm hoping it should be fairly straightforward, but you never know. Sometimes you run into unexpected things and gotta figure it out from there. So I didn't realize you had to take off the top rock shaft till I read to the end of the chapter. Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna get my coveralls on and we'll get going. All right, so I ran into an issue by changing out this new unit here. These springs and ball bearings are too large to fit down into these holes. Now this one over here, which I've already assembled, which I'm trying to be careful not to, these ones are all still good because that's all original and I don't have to change that out. But somebody that was in here, I got parts from what we conclude from a 4010 and or a 4020. If it's a 4010, it'd be no problem, but I think it's a 4020, but we had different discs. We had all different hodgepodge of stuff in this. I mean, it was kind of a butchered up top shaft. So what we got to end up getting here now is get these correct ball bearings and springs for this. So that kind of puts me on a damper for assembling any more on the shaft, which is not what I wanted to do tonight. I wanted to at least get the shaft all pressed back together and done. But here I am, I guess this is where I'm at. So I might switch gears and start cleaning and prepping and replace a bunch of the seals that I got on that, as well as get working on that back in here too. Now, I encourage the customer to change these seals because the oil's all out. So we might as well get that done. So that way it's ready to go and he's not having to fuss with much more. He doesn't have to worry about them going out. And we are missing the front seal out of all the parts, and so we got to get that order from John Deere too. So I'll get him the springs that I need for the components and we will go from there on this. So all right, I'm gonna quit talking and do a little cleanup on this and just double check, make sure I got everything else I need before we have to place another order. So all right, so it's the next day. I got the new ball bearings. They are oh, good thing I dropped one I didn't need. Well, this might be a short video. We lost power. I know right down the road they had we had a big storm just come through out here in the farm. So there's a tree branch hit up there and they had a tree on fire, or a tree branch hit a power line and it caught on fire. So I'm sure I'm about ready to have two small little mini-me's come on out here and be like, yeah, we don't have no power. Because I'm sure that will cut into whatever videos they're watching. These are real fun to put these bearings in. Gotta bring it up out of there. Just tilt. One spring at a time. It's really bummer doing this in no light. But I just gotta be patient. I'm sure that there are some fancy John Deere tool technique, something for this. I've heard they say use grease, but these strings are strong enough that I don't think grease would hold it. Well, one of them decided to go on a trip across the shop. Good thing I had him get 5. Kind of a pain in the butt, but I guess it is what it is. Good. All right, let's try this last one here. Got it. Whew. All right, so I got all new springs and the detent balls, the bearings in there. I lost one of them. It's over, flew across the shop. I'll probably find it in 10 years. And then I lost another one that, these are the bigger ones here. And I ended up finding the other one I lost right next, about an inch away from one of the big ones. So it's kind of little, like it was calling me. It's calling me. What's that Moana song? Isn't there a Disney song that way? Ah, copyright infringement. All right, so, boy howdy. Let's get those all lined up in there nice and pretty like. And that goes on there. Now yes, all this stuff is getting put on dry at the moment, but I will take an oiler and I will put some oil down into there. Now they say you're supposed to tape these together. Now I tried taping them together to make them all nice and pretty at one point, and they didn't work very well. The tape kept coming off, but there was also a lot of transmission fluid on it all. Okay, I got that. All right, so this one here is a round. It's a round one. Here's the old one that came out of this one. So that's the round keyway that goes in there. Now I got another key here that goes in right there. And then my next gear set goes up on that. So I'm gonna tap, this is brass. I'm gonna tap that in there. Give her a little tap, tap, tap-a-roo. I always like to tap that side at a downward bevel a little more. To ensure that it enters in to the gear set. All right, so we got the gear pressed in, get ready to set. this snap ring. Now that gear has detents in it too, so I want to be careful. And that's still, those will spin independently. All right, set this snap ring on and see if we can do it without sending something across the shop. Oh, that worked. Got it. All right, so we got that in there. Then you put your disc blades and your synchro discs and the drum on. Now, when I took this tractor apart, it had, and I think I've already covered this, it had multiple different ones, so it's making a lot more sense to me now as I assemble it this time than when I disassembled it, because the parts and pieces didn't match anything that I saw. All right, I got one snap ring left that goes on the other side. Now the bearing gets pressed in. That's this guy here, and that's the collar. All right, so I got that bearing pressed on there. Get the last snap ring put on. Oops. Just gonna get this guy taped together here, and then we're gonna attempt to, we'll tape it up, I think, and then I'm gonna switch gears over to all right, there's the shaft built. It's fairly easy. The springs are a bugger. Just gotta take your time. But the next step now is going to be to, and I'm going to oil all that up, drench it all real good with oil. But we're gonna come over, I think, and go to cleaning out and flushing the bottom of this. I'll go get some diesel fuel and a blower, a blowing nozzle, and see if I can't get the majority of all this garbage out of the bottom. So I think it's a lot of the synchro discs, the material off that just got burned off trying to work, but they weren't properly set in there. So I'm gonna add some diesel and I'll be right back in a sec. Stay tuned. All right, so I got the shaft in. So what you have this out, this cup here is out of there, and there's some shims, so don't lose your shims. And I had the bearing cup out of there. This cone, everything's pressed in. I do got a snap ring to put on this end yet, but I still got to check the in play of the shaft because with the new bearings in here, I got some extra play. But back here, I got to finish and put the pump in. So the way, the sequence I think to do this is I'm going to get all the pump and everything back here bolted up and done. And then I'll be done in that side once all that stuff's put in there and there's some tubes and O-rings to replace. Then I will tighten this down and then put my dial indicator on here, and I will verify my in play and then have to add or remove shims. So I might have to order shims. We'll see as we do this. But yeah, I want to get my in play set correct. And then once that's set, then I'll put in my shift forks and all that back on there. But I just wanted to tape all that stuff up in there for now to ensure that nothing slid apart, and it worked really well. So I'm pretty stoked about how that all sat in there. So, but yeah, I want to get that pump and all that stuff set on there and get my in play measured that way. I know where I'm at on that. And then I think I'll jump over to my rear PTO seal and get that installed. And then I got a seal here and a seal there I'm going to replace. And then I got 2 screens down here to clean up and get out. And then it's dripping diesel that'll drain on out in the next day or so. So we'll get that on out before I put the new hydraulic oil in. I'm installing the new gears. You can see this one's missing the little cogs in there. This one has it. So I put those 2 bolts in there. This is the pump assembly. It has the new, you can see the gears there. So we'll get this laid in there, and then I gotta get the tubes and all that, get them cleaned. Alright, so that's there. 1, 2, 6 bolts. Alright, so shift fork. That's a piece I need. Get to the right tray. Here we go. I'm gonna throw some stuff away here. We'll do some parts clutter. Weeding out some parts here. It's a good thing. So dipstick, tube there, suction tube. You have a gasket on there. So there's the O-ring up in that. There's an O-ring there. We want to replace the O-rings in it just because I'm there looking at them. Okay, let me go get a pick and pull that out and get into my O-rings. I need those and that. Alright. O-ring is removed. That is that big guy there. There's just a little groove down in there that you just put it down in. Maybe. If I can get my old Fumbarooskies to do it. Alright, so I got this all installed. These caps are put on. I still got to tighten up those caps, make sure everything's good on that. I do have it snugged down to where I got my backlash set. So I came around on the back side here and I am currently working on, got the speedy sleeve installed on the shaft. I got that back collar so that way oil flow can get on there. So I'm getting ready to install this unit here. So I'll get it pressed in, the seal pressed in, and I will go from there on bringing it around to do it. I'm kind of cheating using my puller to do it because I don't have a spacer big enough for it. Alright, so that's in there at that level. I'm going to take the old seal and a rag. I'm going to lay that right on top and then put this on. Alright, looks like we got the seal bottomed out in there. So it's going to run in the original track that was up there, but that's okay. Alright. Put the gasket on. Alright. Alright, so I got those 3 bolts in. So this one's a fairly simple one, especially when all the oil's out. 3 bolts, that housing comes out. You got the 4 bolts to remove the PTO shaft. Careful of your little 1000 versus 540 critter there. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just put these in. So I put these in with 3, and then I use lock washers. I didn't have them on there, but I put them on and then a little blue Loctite. So I lubed up the seal with some oil and just push it on in there. So fairly straightforward on this one. Pretty easy to work on. So I got the PTO shaft. I'm getting it cleaned up and then I'll get it remounted on there. I'm pretty sure I'm going to paint it bright orange for this customer just because haha hee hee. He's a good sport. So, but I'll get that going on that. And then I'll get the top link put back on and I'll start moving forward on some of that other stuff. All right, so I'm terrible about recording. I do apologize. You have to set these in as a pair and get them lined in and then rotate them around. And I got the side disc in. This is the side shaft that controls the linkage. And you gotta make sure you time the linkage correctly. I hope there's a better way in the world to do this than what I'm actually doing. It's terrible to try to do this. I was trying to get that bolt and pin down in there. And it's a terrible location. Oh, sorry. It's that nut right there. It's a castle nut for the shaft. But I can't get those dogs to line up down there. So I'm sure there's a sequence that if I just... Alright, so I had to take the front bearing and shims and all that back out again to give me some better access. So... So right now I'm pulling the keyway out of the lower shaft so I can replace that seal. And I got the spring pins on the lower side for the hold the detents for the transmission. I got those sitting in there cleaning up right now, or they're sitting in the parts washer. Just trying to get all the seals done up real quick. We're gonna put this ugly thing over into the parts washer and get it cleaned up. See if I can't hook that seal and drive it up out of there. My seal puller in there. I use a chisel and I crack the seal, and I'll take a seal puller and I'll see if I can't hook it in there. There it comes. Like that. So I chiseled out right there and I tap that in. You're able to hook it with the shaft still inside it. So, use an old shampoo or body wash, whatever the hell it is, with a pump on there, put it full of oil, keeps it clean. You need just a little dab for seals and stuff like that, works great. Get down there, better clean that off first. Don't want to jump the gun. So I got a big socket, kind of matches up close because I have a shaft sticking out. So this one's easy to do. I did this one already for that shaft. This is the one excuse me, right here. This is the one I'm doing right now. So we're going to use that socket to drive it on. that. Alright, so those are the detents. So what we got going here, at the end of the video, I was getting a bit long on it, so I want to go ahead and clean it up a bit. So most I was doing here is just checking the operation of the detents, seeing, make sure everything engaged inside on it. So thanks for watching. I should have the other one up shortly. Appreciate you following along. If you like this, like and subscribe.